There was a time in my life when I believed success belonged only to the lucky ones, those born into wealth, privilege, or the right connections. I thought destiny had already decided who would rise and who would remain ordinary. But everything changed one quiet morning, long before sunrise, when I discovered a secret that every great achiever in history had known all along. That morning, I realized that the key to success isn't found in luck or talent, but in what you do before the world even wakes up. It began when I visited an aging industrialist named Mr. Charles Renner, a man whose name once echoed through every business paper in America. He was 93 years old then, sharp as ever, sitting in his study surrounded by shelves filled with journals, blueprints, and memories of a lifetime of achievement. I had gone to interview him about his success, expecting to hear about brilliant deals, clever inventions, and the art of leadership. But instead, he leaned forward, smiled, and said something I would never forget. "Young man," he began, "if you want to master life, you must first master your mornings." I was puzzled. "My mornings?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "Every truly successful man I've known, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Roosevelt, all of them won their day before the sun rose. The morning is when destiny is decided." He motioned for me to look at the clock. It was barely 5 a.m. The world outside was still and dark, yet he had already been awake for 3 hours. He had read, reflected, written in his journal, and taken a brisk walk through his garden. "This," he said, tapping the cover of his leather-bound notebook, "is where my fortune was made. Not in boardrooms, not in factories. Here, in the silence of dawn." That conversation awakened something deep within me. I began to study how successful people used their mornings. I pored over the habits of great men and women: Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Madam C.J. Walker, Theodore Roosevelt, and I discovered a powerful pattern. Each of them used the first hour after waking as a sacred time to shape their minds, emotions, and goals. They had a set of mental disciplines that separated the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the achievers. As I continued my research, I found the same truth echoed in hundreds of interviews. Success is not a matter of chance. It is the result of definite causes, repeated daily with precision and faith. And the most important of these causes begins in the morning. You see, the first hour after you wake is a golden hour, a time when your mind is most open, your spirit most willing, and your imagination most alive. Before the noise of the day, before the world demands your attention, you have a rare moment to direct your thoughts toward what you truly want. Your mind, in that early silence, is like fresh clay, ready to be shaped into anything you choose. But most people waste this hour completely. They roll out of bed with a groan, grab their phones, fill their minds with bad news and gossip, and rush into the day without purpose or plan. They let the world set their direction instead of deciding it for themselves. They wonder why their days feel scattered, why their goals never move forward, why life seems to control them instead of the other way around. I once asked an exhausted young businessman why he never had time to think or plan his life. He said, "I'm too busy surviving to think about success." That's when I told him the same truth Mr. Renner told me. If you don't command your mornings, you will always serve someone else's agenda. My friends, the morning is your greatest opportunity to take control of your destiny. The world's most successful people know this, and they guard their mornings like treasure. They understand that the thoughts you think when you first wake up will follow you all day long. Start with gratitude, and you'll find opportunities. Start with worry, and you'll attract problems. Your mind is a magnet, and the morning decides what it will draw in. Now, let me share the first of the 10 sacred morning rules that can change your life completely. The first rule is simple yet powerful. Awaken with gratitude flowing through every part of your being. Before your feet even touch the floor, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath and think of 3 things you're thankful for. It could be your health, your family, your home, or even the chance to live another day. Gratitude is not just a pleasant feeling, it's a force of attraction. When you focus on what you have, you attract more of it. When you dwell on what you lack, you push abundance away. Thomas Edison, the man who gave light to the world, understood this deeply. When his laboratory burned to the ground, destroying years of work, he didn't curse fate. He smiled and said, "Thank God all our mistakes were burned up. Now we can start fresh." Within weeks, he rebuilt everything. That is the power of gratitude. It turns obstacles into stepping stones, Consider also the story of Madam C.J. Walker. Born in poverty, orphaned at 7, widowed at 20, she could have surrendered to despair. Instead, she began each day with gratitude, for her health, for her daughter, and even for her problems. Her gratitude inspired creativity, and that creativity led her to develop a hair care product that made her the first self-made female millionaire in America. Gratitude opened the door to her destiny. Every morning, when you awaken, feel the sheets beneath you, hear the stillness of dawn, and give thanks. Thank the universe for another chance to create, to grow, to love, to live. Write down at least 5 things you're grateful for. But don't be vague. Be specific. Don't just say, "I'm grateful for my family." Say, "I'm grateful for the way my daughter hugged me yesterday and made me feel loved." The more detail you give, the more deeply your mind feels the emotion. Gratitude prepares your mind to see opportunity where others see obstacles. It sharpens your awareness, aligns your thoughts with abundance, and sets the emotional tone for your entire day. Those who begin the morning with gratitude will walk through life surrounded by invisible helpers, people, events, and circumstances that seem to conspire in their favor. So tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, remember this truth: your first thoughts decide the shape of your day. Start them with gratitude, and you begin to command the forces that create success. And once your heart is filled with thankfulness, you are ready for the second great rule of morning mastery: to clearly define your purpose for the day ahead. But that, my friend, is a lesson for the next morning. Would you like me to continue with part 2, about defining purpose for the day, in the same motivational Napoleon Hill storytelling style? Title: The Morning That Changed Everything, Part 2, The Power of a Definite Purpose. Engaging hook. A few months after my visit to Mr. Renner, I found myself sitting across from another remarkable man, a quiet legend who had built one of the largest construction companies in Chicago. He wasn't loud or flashy. He didn't wear gold watches or boast about his wealth. But there was something about him, an unshakable calm, a sense of direction that seemed to radiate from his very presence. When I asked him the secret behind his success, he smiled and said something I'll never forget. "Every morning, before I speak to a single person, I ask myself one question: what is the most important thing I must do today to move closer to my life's purpose?" That single question, he told me, was worth more than a college education. That conversation stayed with me for weeks. I began to see how most people drift through their days without clear direction, reacting to circumstances instead of creating them. They wake up, rush into their routines, and by evening, wonder why they feel unfulfilled. Their days are filled with movement but no meaning, activity but no purpose. And then I thought of the great men and women I had studied: Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Roosevelt. They all shared one thing in common. They began each morning with a definite purpose. Not vague wishes or passing thoughts, but crystal clear intentions that guided everything they did. The mind, you see, is like a compass. It needs a North Star. Without it, it wanders aimlessly, easily swayed by distractions, opinions, and temporary emotions. But when you fix your mind on a definite goal, everything within you, your thoughts, emotions, intuition, and energy, aligns in that direction. I remember one particular morning when I decided to test this idea myself. I woke before dawn, sat at my desk, and wrote one sentence on a piece of paper: "Today, my purpose is to complete the first draft of my new lecture on personal achievement." I folded that paper and kept it in my pocket. Throughout the day, whenever distractions tempted me, phone calls, unimportant errands, idle chatter, I reached into my pocket, touched that small folded paper, and reminded myself of my purpose. By nightfall, that draft was complete. For the first time in my life, I felt the incredible satisfaction of a day fully lived. That simple practice changed everything. When you begin each morning by defining your purpose, you give direction to your subconscious mind. You awaken an invisible power that starts working immediately, scanning your surroundings for opportunities, ideas, and people who can help you. The mind becomes a magnet, drawing in everything necessary for your success. Think of the sun. When its rays are scattered, they warm the earth. But when those same rays are focused through a magnifying glass, they become powerful enough to ignite fire. Your thoughts work the same way. When they are scattered, they produce weak, uncertain results. When focused through the lens of definite purpose, they can move mountains. Henry Ford understood this principle better than most. Every morning, he would rise early, sit alone in silence, and think deeply about one question: how can I make transportation affordable for every American? That single purpose drove him through years of failure, ridicule, and near financial ruin. His first automobile company collapsed. His second nearly did. Investors mocked his dream of a car for the masses. But Ford's purpose burned brighter than their doubt. It gave him the strength to persist when every logical reason told him to quit. And when the first Model T rolled off the assembly line, changing the world forever, Ford said, "I just kept doing the day's purpose, one day at a time." That is the magic of purpose. It transforms struggle into progress, confusion into clarity, and ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. But defining your purpose isn't just about writing a daily to-do list. It's about aligning your actions with your major purpose in life. Your daily purpose is the bridge that connects your long-term vision to your everyday decisions. Ask yourself, how does today's purpose move me closer to who I want to become? How does it serve others? How does it make the world a little better? Booker T. Washington lived by this philosophy. Each morning, he rose before sunrise at the Tuskegee Institute, gathered his thoughts, and defined his purpose for the day: to educate, uplift, and empower his people. Every lecture, every student conversation, every decision he made flowed from that purpose. Because his daily mission was always connected to his greater vision, his impact continues to inspire generations long after his passing. Your daily purpose does not have to be as vast as Ford's or Washington's. It might be something as simple as improving one skill, serving one client with excellence, or deepening one relationship. What matters is that it is clear and definite. When your mind knows exactly what it's aiming for, it becomes unstoppable. Yet, purpose without action is merely a dream. Once you've defined what matters most for the day, you must act on it with courage and focus. Create a plan. Break your purpose into small, measurable steps. Identify what tools you need, what obstacles might arise, and how you'll overcome them. Then, guard your focus as fiercely as a lion protects its cubs. Throughout the day, distractions will come: emails, notifications, conversations, and unexpected events. But when they do, pause and ask yourself, does this serve my purpose? If not, let it go. The universe respects those who live with intention. When you walk in the direction of a clear purpose, life begins to rearrange itself in your favor. You'll notice coincidences, opportunities, and people showing up at just the right time. It may seem miraculous, but it's not. It's the natural law of attraction responding to the focused energy of a determined mind. I often tell my students, a person with purpose is like a train on a fixed track. It might face storms or delays, but it never loses its direction. A person without purpose, however, is like a feather in the wind, blown about by every breeze, never arriving anywhere meaningful. So tomorrow morning, before you leave your bedroom, ask yourself this simple question: what is the one most important thing I must accomplish today to move closer to my major purpose in life? Write the answer down. Keep it with you. Read it whenever you feel uncertain. Let it be your compass. Do this for 21 mornings in a row, and you'll begin to feel a shift. Your days will no longer blur together. Each morning will feel like a mission. Each evening will end with quiet satisfaction. And when you have mastered this rule, when every sunrise finds you awake with gratitude and guided by purpose, you will be ready for the next great step in your morning discipline. That next step, my friend, is to feed your mind with positive, constructive thoughts that nourish success itself. But that is a story for another morning. Would you like me to continue with part 3? Feed your mind with positive, constructive thoughts. In the same Napoleon Hill style storytelling format, around 1,000 words. Title: The Morning That Changed Everything. Part 3. Feed your mind with power-engaging hook. One morning in Chicago, I visited the office of W. Clement Stone, a man whose fortune and influence had made him one of the most respected businessmen in America. He greeted me with a smile so full of energy that it seemed to light up the entire room. Before we even began our conversation, he pointed to a small stack of books on his desk and said, "I start every morning with these. They're my breakfast for the mind." He leaned forward and said, "You can't build $1 million business on a 10-cent mindset. What you feed your mind first thing in the morning determines everything else that follows." That simple truth, my friend, is the third great rule of morning discipline. When I left Stone's office that day, I realized something profound. Most people begin their mornings by feeding their minds with garbage. They turn on the news filled with tragedy, scandal, and despair. They scroll through their phones, absorbing fear, gossip, and complaints before their first cup of coffee. And then they wonder why they feel anxious, uninspired, and powerless as the day unfolds. But the truly successful, the ones who rise above the crowd, do something very different. They guard the gates of their minds like watchful sentinels. They understand that the thoughts you allow in the morning set the vibration for your entire day. Your mind, especially in those early waking hours, is like fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant, whether of hope or fear, faith or doubt, will grow and shape the experiences you attract. If you begin your day by focusing on what's wrong, you'll see more problems. But if you fill your mind with thoughts of growth, gratitude, and success, your day will unfold with greater clarity and opportunity. That's why I tell my students to create what I call a success library. It doesn't need to be large. A small shelf or even a stack of books beside your bed will do. Fill it with the kind of reading that uplifts your spirit. Biographies of great achievers, books on personal growth, stories of courage and invention, passages from spiritual works that remind you of the higher purpose behind your efforts. Spend just 15 minutes each morning reading from one of these books before you begin your day. Those 15 minutes will do more to shape your destiny than hours spent reacting to the chaos of the world. You are, after all, the product of your thoughts, and your thoughts are nourished by the ideas you feed them. Clement Stone lived this truth. Every morning, he read passages that inspired courage, self-discipline, and positive expectancy. He didn't just read words. He let them sink into his subconscious like seeds of success. He practiced affirmations, statements of faith in himself and his purpose, until they became unshakable beliefs. Over time, those beliefs manifested in a life of great wealth and contribution. He used to say, "The mind is everything. Control it, and you control your world." But reading alone is not enough. You must also watch the thoughts that arise from within. The most dangerous negativity often comes not from others, but from the quiet voice inside your own head. The voice that says, "You can't do it." The voice that whispers, "You're not ready." The voice that tries to remind you of every past failure. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful ones is not that the successful never hear that voice. It's that they refuse to let it lead. They recognize it, challenge it, and replace it with thoughts of strength and possibility. Throughout the morning, I encourage you to pause and ask yourself a simple question: what am I thinking right now? If your thoughts are filled with worry, self-doubt, or anger, stop immediately and redirect your attention. Replace the negative image with one that uplifts you, a memory of success, a vision of your goal achieved, or a powerful affirmation like, "I am capable, confident, and unstoppable." Successful people keep a mental arsenal of positive thoughts they can call upon instantly. When fear or frustration sneaks in, they don't let it linger. They reach for a powerful idea or memory that recenters their mind. This practice turns you from a passive thinker into a conscious creator of your own mood and momentum. You can also enhance your morning environment to support positive thinking. Play uplifting music that energizes your soul. Surround yourself with symbols of success, perhaps a vision board of your goals, a framed quote that inspires you, or even a simple note to yourself that reads, "You are becoming who you are meant to be." Thomas Edison had a small room in his workshop filled only with his inventions and inspirational writings. He would start each morning there, quietly reviewing the work of his past and imagining the discoveries yet to come. It wasn't superstition, it was mental conditioning. He was programming his mind to see possibilities, not limitations. You can do the same. Instead of allowing the world to dictate your mental diet, become the deliberate architect of your thoughts. Choose carefully what you read, listen to, and say during those first sacred hours of the morning. Because here's an unshakable truth: whatever dominates your morning will dominate your day. Over time, this discipline transforms your mind into a powerful magnet for success. Positive thoughts, repeated consistently, create new mental patterns. These patterns shape your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your behavior. Soon, you'll find yourself naturally drawn to opportunities that align with your goals. You'll make better decisions. You'll attract people who share your vision. You'll see the world not as a place of limitations, but as a field of endless possibilities. Even when challenges arise, and they will, you'll handle them differently. You'll respond with faith instead of fear, with calm instead of chaos. And that, my friend, is the true mark of mastery. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone or turn on the news, ask yourself this: what do I want my mind to believe today? Then feed it something worthy of that belief. Read something powerful. Speak something affirming. Think something that reminds you that you were made for greatness. Your morning thoughts are not just passing moments. They are the blueprint of your future. And when your mind is filled with light, the path ahead always becomes clearer. When you have mastered this third rule, when every dawn finds your thoughts shining with purpose and positivity, you will be ready for the next great step in your morning transformation. That step, my friend, is to awaken not just your mind, but your entire being. To engage your body and spirit so that all parts of you move in harmony toward success. But that lesson, we shall uncover in Part 4. Would you like me to continue with Part 4? Awaken your body and spirit through movement in the same style, story-driven, motivational, and around 1,000 words. Part 4. The Morning of Power. The fourth rule. Movement awakens the mind. It was still dark outside when Thomas Jefferson opened the front door of Monticello. The air was cool and pure, carrying the scent of wet earth and blooming jasmine. He stepped outside quietly, his boots crunching against the gravel path, and began his morning walk. For Jefferson, this wasn't just exercise, it was a ritual of clarity. Each step seemed to awaken not just his body, but his mind. Ideas would come to him like sparks, solutions to political disputes, architectural visions, even lines for letters he planned to write. By the time the sun peeked over the horizon, his thoughts were as sharp as the morning light itself. Jefferson knew something that most people overlook even today: the mind and body are one. He often said that walking cleared his thoughts more than sitting in a study ever could. And he was right. Science now proves what the great thinkers of old practiced instinctively. Movement fuels mental power. Napoleon Hill once wrote that success begins in the mind, but the mind cannot rise above the condition of the body that houses it. If the body is sluggish, the thoughts will be dull. If the body is energized, the mind becomes alive with ideas. This truth explains why so many successful people start their mornings with movement. Abraham Lincoln understood this deeply. Before facing the nation's most turbulent years, he split wood each morning. It wasn't just a chore, it was therapy. The steady rhythm of his axe striking the log helped him think through complex problems that no one else dared to face. Each swing was a meditation. The physical exertion cleared away fear and doubt, making room for clarity and courage. Charles Dickens did something similar. Though he lived in the crowded heart of London, he took long walks every morning before writing. Sometimes he walked 10 miles before the city had fully awakened. The motion stirred his imagination, bringing to life the colorful characters that later filled his novels. He would return home bursting with creative energy, ready to write with passion and precision. There is something magical about movement. It shakes away sleepiness, clears mental fog, and invites fresh inspiration. When your blood starts to flow, your brain receives more oxygen, your mood improves, and your creativity expands. That's why so many great breakthroughs have come not at desks, but during walks, runs, and even simple stretches. But you don't need to be Jefferson, Lincoln, or Dickens to harness this power. You only need a few minutes each morning to awaken your own energy. Imagine starting your day with a brisk walk through your neighborhood. The air feels cool against your skin, your lungs fill with oxygen, and your mind begins to open like a flower to the light. As you move, the clutter of yesterday falls away. You begin to think more clearly. Solutions to problems suddenly appear where before there was confusion. Some people prefer yoga or gentle stretching. Others choose more vigorous activity, push-ups, jumping jacks, a quick jog. The kind of movement doesn't matter nearly as much as the consistency. The key is to move every morning, no matter how small the effort. Because in that movement, you awaken not just your muscles but your spirit. Napoleon Hill emphasized that motion creates momentum. When you begin the day with energy, you set the tone for everything that follows. Your actions become more decisive, your thoughts more confident, and your emotions more positive. You literally program your body and mind to expect success. Consider a young entrepreneur named Jake. He used to roll out of bed late, scroll through his phone, and start his day in a fog. He often felt behind before he even began. Then one day, after reading about the habits of successful men, he decided to try something different. He set his alarm 30 minutes earlier and began walking each morning. At first, it was difficult. His body resisted the change. But within a week, he noticed something remarkable. His thoughts felt clearer, his energy stronger, and his confidence higher. He started making better business decisions. Within 6 months, his small business had grown faster than it had in 2 years. Jake realized that success wasn't just about working harder. It was about starting the day right, by energizing his mind through movement. That single change transformed his mornings from sluggish to powerful. Physical movement is more than a fitness habit. It's a declaration that you are alive, capable, and ready to engage with life. When you move your body, you remind yourself that you are not a victim of circumstance. You are a creator of energy. Every step, every stretch, every breath becomes a signal to your subconscious mind. I am awake, I am strong, and I am in control. Napoleon Hill believed that physical vitality and mental clarity are inseparable. He wrote, "A sound mind in a sound body is a short route to mastery." He taught that motion unlocks the flow of creative energy that lies dormant in the average person. When you move, you break through the wall of inertia that holds so many back. Think of the great minds of history. Not one of them lived a life of idleness. Edison walked the floors of his laboratory day and night. Roosevelt hiked and boxed his way through political battles. Even modern innovators like Steve Jobs held walking meetings to stimulate creative thought. They knew that great ideas are born in motion. You can apply the same principle tomorrow morning. Don't wait for motivation, create it through movement. Begin with something small, a stretch, a walk, or a few deep breaths while watching the sunrise. Feel the difference in your mood and focus. As your energy rises, you'll find it easier to take control of your day, to meet challenges with strength, and to pursue your goals with enthusiasm. And remember, the goal isn't to exhaust yourself, it's to awaken yourself. A few minutes of physical activity can shift your entire state of mind. Over time, this daily ritual becomes the foundation for success. Your mornings will no longer begin in sluggishness or stress but in clarity and power. Every movement is a message to your subconscious. I am alive, I am moving forward, I am unstoppable. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings, resist the temptation to stay still. Instead, get up and move. Take a step outside. Feel the air, stretch your arms, breathe deeply, and walk toward your goals, literally and figuratively. Like Jefferson, Lincoln, and Dickens, you'll find that the path to greatness often begins with the first step of the morning. When you honor your body, you honor your mind. When you move your body, you move your destiny. And when you awaken your physical energy, you awaken the sleeping giant of your potential. That is the fourth rule of morning mental discipline: move your body, and your spirit will rise to meet it. Part 5. The Morning Vision, the fifth rule. See your success before it happens. The morning sun filtered softly through the curtains of a small study in Paris. A young officer sat at his desk, his eyes closed, his hands clasped loosely before him. To anyone passing by, he might have appeared to be daydreaming. But in his mind, Napoleon Bonaparte was already standing victorious on a distant battlefield. He saw the smoke clearing, the enemy retreating, the flags of France waving in triumph. He heard the cheers of his soldiers, felt the cool metal of his sword in his hand, and smelled the gunpowder still lingering in the air. He was not merely hoping for victory, he was living it in his imagination. When the time came to fight, he fought with certainty, not doubt. He had already won in his mind long before his troops marched. This was not luck or arrogance. It was the power of visualization, the same principle Napoleon Hill would later describe as one of the most vital keys to success. Visualization is the art of seeing your success before it exists in reality. It's more than fantasy, it's a deliberate mental rehearsal of achievement. When practiced correctly, it programs your subconscious mind to attract the people, opportunities, and ideas necessary to turn your vision into fact. Hill taught that every great achievement begins twice, first in the mind, then in the world. To understand how this works, consider an athlete preparing for the Olympic Games. Long before the race begins, she sits in silence, eyes closed, and pictures every detail of her performance. She feels the ground beneath her feet, the rhythm of her breathing, the sound of the crowd. She imagines crossing the finish line, the clock flashing her best time, the gold medal resting against her chest. Her brain doesn't know the difference between this vivid visualization and an actual experience. It begins to build neural pathways that prepare her body to perform exactly as imagined. The same is true for success in business, relationships, or any personal goal. When you visualize your success clearly and emotionally, your subconscious mind begins to accept it as truth. It starts to seek out ways to make that vision real. You begin to notice opportunities you once overlooked, attract people who can help you, and make decisions aligned with your vision. Let me tell you a story about a man named Sam who proved this principle in the simplest way possible. Sam worked as a salesman in a small appliance store. He was good at his job, but not exceptional. Every morning he came to work, followed the same routine, and made average sales. Then one morning, after reading Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, he decided to test the power of visualization. Before leaving his house, he sat quietly in a chair and closed his eyes. He imagined himself greeting customers with energy and confidence. He saw them smiling, shaking his hand, and leaving with new purchases. He pictured his sales sheet at the end of the day, full of numbers far higher than usual. He didn't just see it, he felt it. He felt the excitement of success, the pride of achievement, the gratitude of customers thanking him. The experience felt so real that when he walked into the store that morning, he carried himself differently. His coworkers noticed the change. He spoke with more confidence, his smile was warmer, his enthusiasm contagious. By the end of the day, his sales had more than doubled. Sam repeated the exercise the next morning, and the next. Within a year, he was promoted to store manager. Within 3 years, he owned his own business. He often said, "I didn't change what I sold, I changed how I saw myself before I sold it." That is the power of visualization. But Napoleon Hill warned that visualization without emotion is empty. The secret lies in feeling your success as if it has already happened. Feel the pride, the joy, the peace, the gratitude. Emotion gives power to the picture. It's the energy that turns an image into reality. Imagine, for a moment, the life you want most. Maybe you see yourself living in a beautiful home, surrounded by family and laughter. Maybe you see yourself traveling the world, speaking to audiences who are inspired by your words. Maybe you see your business thriving, your health radiant, your mind at peace. Now close your eyes and step inside that image. What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel beneath your hands? How does success feel in your chest? Do this each morning for 10 minutes, and your life will begin to change in ways you can't yet imagine. When you start your day with visualization, you give your mind direction. Most people let their thoughts drift wherever circumstance takes them. But successful people steer their minds deliberately. They create mental blueprints for the day ahead. They see the outcomes they desire before they happen. And because they see them, they act as if they're already true. Point 1 of Napoleon Hill's most powerful teachings is that thoughts become things. The images you hold in your mind eventually shape the life you experience. If you constantly see failure, you attract it. If you see victory, your actions align with that vision and lead you toward success. Visualization is not just imagination, it's mental training. Hill often compared it to planting seeds in the soil of your subconscious. Each morning that you visualize your success, you water those seeds. Over time, they grow into beliefs, habits, and achievements that match your vision. Even great innovators understood this. Thomas Edison once said that he could see his inventions completed in his mind before he ever began building them. Henry Ford visualized cars rolling off assembly lines when the idea still seemed impossible. They lived their success internally until it became external. You can do the same. Each morning, before you check your phone or rush into the day, close your eyes for a few minutes. Picture your ideal life in vivid detail. See the day unfolding exactly as you want it to. Visualize yourself confident, productive, and fulfilled. Imagine the positive results of your actions. Let the emotions of success fill your body. Then, open your eyes and carry that energy into your day. Over time, this habit reprograms your subconscious mind to expect good things. You become magnetically attracted to opportunities that match your vision. You act with greater confidence because your mind already believes in the outcome. Napoleon Hill said, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Visualization helps you conceive and believe before you achieve. It turns dreams into blueprints and blueprints into realities. So tomorrow morning, don't just wake up your body, wake up your imagination. Sit quietly and let your mind paint the picture of your greatest success. Make it bright, detailed, and alive. Feel it as if it's already yours, because in truth, it already is. The moment you can see it clearly, you have begun to create it. And that is the fifth rule of morning mental discipline. Visualize your success until your reality has no choice but to match your vision. Part 6. The Morning of Mastery. The final rule. Live with gratitude and faith. The sun had barely risen over the hills of Virginia when a young man named Thomas paused at the edge of a quiet field. He had been reading Think and Grow Rich every morning for months, following Napoleon Hill's principles with discipline and devotion. But this morning felt different. As the cool air brushed against his face and the world began to stir around him, he realized something profound. Success, he thought, is not only about purpose, focus, positive thought, movement, or visualization. It is also about faith and gratitude, two invisible forces that give power to everything else. Napoleon Hill taught that faith is the foundation upon which all achievement is built. Without faith, every plan is weak and every effort uncertain. Faith is the inner belief that your purpose will be fulfilled, even when no evidence supports it. Gratitude is the emotional magnet that draws more good into your life. When you give thanks for what you already have, you tell the universe that you are ready for more. Thomas closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He began to think about the blessings in his life, the opportunities that had appeared, the mentors who had guided him, the lessons he had learned through failure. A warm feeling of peace spread through him. For the first time, he wasn't chasing success, he was welcoming it. That morning, he discovered the final rule of morning mental discipline: to begin each day with gratitude and faith. Faith is not something you acquire once. It is something you cultivate daily, like a fire that must be tended to keep burning. Hill often said that faith is created by repeating positive thoughts and affirmations until they become part of your subconscious mind. When you begin each day affirming your belief in yourself, your purpose, and your ability to achieve it, you train your mind to expect success. Thomas remembered one of Hill's teachings. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Those words echoed in his heart as he walked. He realized that every great achievement he admired had been powered by faith. Edison had faith that he could find the right filament for the light bulb. The Wright brothers had faith that man could fly. Helen Keller had faith that life could be beautiful even in darkness. They all saw the invisible before it became visible. Faith begins with a choice. You choose to believe in possibilities greater than your present circumstances. You choose to trust that your efforts will bear fruit in time. And once you make that choice, life begins to align itself with your belief. But faith without gratitude is incomplete. Gratitude turns your attention away from what is missing and focuses it on what is present. It changes the energy with which you face the world. Hill often wrote that the habit of gratitude transforms the mind from limitation to abundance. When you give thanks for what you already have, you multiply its value in your consciousness. Every morning, before diving into your plans and goals, pause for a moment of gratitude. Think of 3 things you are thankful for. It could be your health, your family, your opportunities, or simply the chance to live another day with purpose. Feel that gratitude deeply. Let it fill your heart. When you start your day in this emotional state, you raise your vibration to match the frequency of success. Thomas made it a habit to write in his gratitude journal each morning. He would write, "I am thankful for the strength in my body, for the clarity in my mind, and for the opportunities waiting for me today." Within weeks, his entire outlook on life began to shift. Problems that once frustrated him became challenges that strengthened him. Setbacks became lessons. People responded to him with more kindness. It was as if the whole universe had begun to work in his favor. One morning, while reflecting on his progress, Thomas smiled as he remembered Hill's story about Andrew Carnegie. When Carnegie was asked the secret to his success, he said it was his habit of gratitude. Every morning, he would silently give thanks for his wealth, his health, and the opportunities to serve others. This gratitude kept his mind open to new ideas and his heart receptive to new blessings. Faith and gratitude are inseparable companions. Gratitude gives faith a foundation. When you thank life for what you already have, you confirm your belief that more is coming. Faith, in turn, strengthens gratitude. When you believe that your dreams are on their way, you naturally feel thankful even before they arrive. Napoleon Hill himself practiced this daily. In his morning routine, he would visualize his goals, repeat affirmations of faith, and end with a prayer of gratitude. He believed that gratitude was not just good manners, it was spiritual law. What you appreciate, you attract. What you ignore, you lose. If you make this final rule part of your morning discipline, you will begin to notice subtle miracles happening in your life. The right person will call you at the right moment. The perfect idea will come to you when you least expect it. The job, the opportunity, or the solution you've been waiting for will appear as if by chance. But it is not chance, it is the natural result of a mind filled with gratitude and faith. Let us take a moment to imagine your own perfect morning routine, the one that embodies all 6 rules. You wake before the world stirs. You sit in silence and calm your thoughts. You define your purpose for the day ahead. You feed your mind with positive thoughts and uplifting words. You move your body and awaken your spirit. You visualize your success in vivid detail. And finally, you express your faith and gratitude for the blessings already present and those yet to come. This is not just a morning routine, it is a ritual of creation. Each morning becomes a new beginning, a sacred time when you align your mind, body, and spirit with the universal laws of success. You become a deliberate creator of your destiny instead of a victim of circumstance. Napoleon Hill's timeless wisdom reminds us that greatness is not reserved for the few. It belongs to anyone willing to discipline their mind, control their thoughts, and live each day with faith and gratitude. The morning is your most powerful tool. Use it to shape your future deliberately. As Thomas stood in that quiet Virginia field, the sun fully risen now, he smiled. He understood that success was not something he had to chase. It was something he had to become. Every morning was an opportunity to shape that becoming. He walked back toward his home, ready to face the day, not with fear, but with faith. Not with demands, but with gratitude, and so should you. Start tomorrow morning as Napoleon Hill would. Sit quietly and affirm your faith in your purpose. Give thanks for the blessings you already have. Visualize your success, move your body, think positively, and go out into the world with confidence. Do it every morning, and your life will transform in ways that will astonish even you. Because success is not created in the moment you achieve it, it is born in the morning you decide to believe in it. If this message inspired you, remember to subscribe, share, and comment below. Let others discover the power of Napoleon Hill's morning discipline and begin their own journey towards success. Together, we can create a community of minds awakened to purpose, gratitude, and faith. Start your morning strong. The world is waiting for your greatness.